We're taking a look at the brand new 2019 Specialized Stumpjumper. The one we've got right here is a 2019 Stumpjumper Comp Carbon, but we'll talk about some of the new changes and upgrades for all of the new Stumpjumper versions. Now, one of the things you'll notice is its new striking design. It's got a revised FSR suspension geometry to be a lot more efficient and a lot lighter, as well as the front triangle has their all-new sidearm design. Similar in look to the Specialized Demo downhill bike, it's got only one brace that goes on one side of the frame across where the shock is placed. Now, this new frame is claimed to be 20% more efficient than the old frame, and that's because they spent extensive time with CAD and finite element analysis to set up the layup schedule of the brand new carbon frame. The new aluminum one also yields some of the same performance with a sidearm design, making it a really exceptional bike. Now, the bike itself does get their own custom tuned fork and shock, but what's really neat is you can actually run any metric shock that you want. And that's because instead of the older designs where they had a proprietary yoke for the rear end, this one uses a metric size shock so you can replace it if you wanted to. It's also got a lot of adjustability. What I mean by that is both 27.5 and 29er frames can both fit 27.5-inch plus tires. The 27.5 bike can comfortably go up to a 27.5 by 2.8 tire, while the 29er frame can go to the full 6 fatty, where you could place in a 27.5 plus with a 3-inch wide tire. This is pretty neat, and how they're able to do that is with a flip chip where the rear shock is. Basically, you can change the bottom bracket height, affecting the ability to run larger and smaller tires on both frame sizes. Now, when we talk about the frames, we should note that all of the frames have internal cable routing, and the carbon frames, you almost can't see a cable from the front end of the bike all the way to the back. What's really neat is they also have some nylon lining inside of the frame, allowing you to be able to send through the cables without having to fish it through. The new SWAT Downtube Storage in the carbon frames is 20% larger, and it also has a bigger opening, allowing you to bring the tubes and the things you might store in your down tube in and out of the frame quite a bit easier. Specialized has also gone to great lengths trying to quiet down the drivetrain when you go through that rock garden or you're shredding downhill. They've got a new chainstay protector that, if you look at it, has a whole bunch of bumps on it, and those nubs and waves help quiet down the chain when it hits. Now, what's pretty neat is the bike comes in 3 different versions. It's got a short travel, which replaces the old Specialized camber, standard travel, the Stumpjumper, and then they've got a new Evo version as well. So let's talk about that a little bit. The Stumpjumper short travel comes in carbon and aluminum, just like the old camber did, and in a 27.5 tire size, it'll actually run 130 mils of travel and a 66.5 or 67 degree head tube angle, depending on where you set the flip chip. The 29er version is 130 mils of travel up front, 120 in the rear, and it has a 67.5 or a 68 degree head tube angle. When we look at the Stumpjumper, that's a little bit larger, so it's got 150 millimeters of travel with a 65.5 or 66 degree head tube angle in the 27.5 version, while the 29er gets 150 up front, 140 in the rear, with 66.5 or a 67 degree head tube angle. This should be a really great trail bike for just about everyone. Finally, they've got that Evo model I mentioned, which is 150 mil travel 27.5 with a 63.5 degree head tube angle, or the 29er can be had in a 150 up front, 140 in the rear, and a 64 degree head tube angle. What's really neat about all 3 of these bikes is the reach has gotten a little bit longer, the bottom bracket is just a touch taller, and that's going to allow this bike to be really efficient and a really fun bike in the trail. The Stumpjumper we have here is the Comp Carbon version in a 29er. It's got a full FACT 11M carbon frame, so that means both the front and rear of the bike are both carbon. It's set up with boost front and rear, a Fox Float 34 rhythm front fork, and a Fox Float DPS rear shock. Now, what's really neat about the bike is it's going to be running a Raceface AFEC 24mm spindle with 170 crank arms on all sizes of the bike. So it gives a little bit more room when you're going through rock gardens. The bike then is set up with an SLX shifter, cassette, and then an XT rear derailleur, and it runs Shimano's SLX hydraulic brakes. So a really nice spec on the bike. The seat post on this bike is an X-Fusion Manic dropper seat post. It's got infinite adjustment, and it's in a size 34.9. So Specialized is using a larger diameter seat tube on this bike. Overall, this is a really neat bike. And when we weigh it, it's gonna come in at just over 29 pounds, which for a bike that still has its tubes on and is straight out of the box, that's not too bad. Well, thanks for watching this video on the 2019 Specialized Stumpjumpers. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about these bikes, and then go ahead, click that subscribe button so that way you can stay tuned for videos like this into the future.